There's a bunch of horny staff members at the hospital, and there's also a security guard who is not doing his job.
And it's not exceptionally horny.
Yeah. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not very horny, this one.
Yeah. My name is Nate.
My name is Nick. Wait.
I almost was like, wait, how do we start this? It's been a while.
My name is Mike.
And my name is Nate.
Yeah.
And what the hell was that?
What the hell? What the hell? No, that was. You know what? I don't feel as confused about that one. I think that was. You know.
I think that's fair.
I can see what that was.
Well, listener, as Mike and I fumbled through that intro, this is the first episode that we've done in quite some time. Typically, Mike and I, since we've started recording this podcast, we watch maybe 1 to 2 movies a week.
Yeah, frankly. Yeah.
But so that gives you kind of a general idea of how often we do this. But unfortunately, because of our busy schedules, this is like the first time in about 2 weeks that we've recorded.
Unforeseen events and busy schedules.
Yeah, certainly.
Canaled routes. Fucking God help
Band
me.
practices.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the last movie we watched was what, The Card Counter?
No, it was with Robbie, I believe.
Yes, Astro Monster.
Astro Monster,
yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah. When was that?
That was like 2 weeks ago today, I think.
Yeah. Hot damn.
Because last Thursday, Think Machine had practice.
What has happened to time?
Yeah, crazy. But thankfully, we have a nice backlog of content.
That is true.
So hopefully this will not disrupt your listening habits. And also, this is our first recorded episode of the Halloween variety.
Of
I had a moment. I had a brain fart there. This is not the first episode of the Halloween variety that is being released because we retroactively decided to make some other episodes that were vaguely Halloween-esque Halloween episodes. But this is the first one that we are recording with that intention.
Don't Breathe 2? Which ones?
Don't Breathe 2.
Yeah.
And then there were some other ones that I got to figure out.
Does that mean Don't Breathe 2 is going to be the first one with like the spooky, scary Halloween intro?
That's correct.
I see. So wait, do we have 2 Halloween-themed ones?
I was thinking the whole month.
Because we release one weekly.
Yes.
Okay. You can see me learning our schedule as we go forth.
Yeah, Mike's just the talent. He doesn't really do much of the scheduling or the logistics.
I stumble in half awake, you know.
Always drunk.
Oh my God. It's hilarious talking to people about my weird hobby / spiritual practice of listening to AA speakers tapes because
it's interesting.
Well, because the first question is always like, "Oh, I didn't know." It's like, "No, I don't drink." It's like, "No, you don't understand. Like, I actually don't drink at all." So it'd be weird if I were alcoholic in that sense.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. I've consumed a lot of media that has a lot of underlying AA
right.
stuff in it, and it is always captivating to some extent.
It's very interesting because like all I knew about it before, I guess, really listening to it was like the cliched idea of what AA is, which is just like a bunch of people praying to Jesus, you know? It's like praying the alcoholism away or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, this isn't an AA podcast. This is
Could be.
Neither of us drink, so it'd be very weird.
It would be.
To be like, let's talk about the struggles of recovery. Well, I'm doing good in sobriety.
Good insight.
Yeah, right. It's like, so how long you've been sober? And then you just be like, my
23
life. Yeah, my lifetime. Right. And I think I'm on like the northern half of like, 3-4 years now. But I never even had like a serious drug problem, so I don't know how much I can really talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? You know? But yeah, no.
100% seriously, if you're struggling, there are people who care about you and plenty of places to turn to get you the support you need. So don't hesitate to do that.
Oh, 100%. You know, like I think, you know, as much as I never had any serious kind of problem, I understand the kind of loop that the addictive personality type can put you in.
It sure can.
Yeah. Dude, what a wonderful note. Thank you.
Spooky.
Yeah, talking about the fucking horrors. Yeah, the horror of mental fucking loops that just leave you unfulfilled. Anyway, God, how did I get on this train? We're talking about. Oh yeah, always drunk, stumbling in. I'm just the talent. Always stumbling in, always drunk, but not really, of course. But yeah. 30-year schedule. So yeah, does that mean the whole month of February is going to be like love movies?
I mean, I'm certainly down for
Do we
that.
only watch cheesy Leprechaun Look of the Irish movies?
That could
during,
be
like,
fun.
March, yeah.
Oh, I'm certainly down for that.
We're gonna do themed months, are we?
Man, I wish there were like Thanksgiving themed movies.
What are you talking about? There's that one really weird Thanksgiving.
Huh. That's news to me.
Have you not heard about it? You know, like
I have
Santa's Sleigh is like a Christmas slasher.
Uh-huh.
There's like a Thanksgiving slasher called like Thanksgiving or some shit like that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel with that one.
Well, we could probably find any movie that's about like having big family gathering dinners, like soul food.
I know there are plenty of like Thanksgiving episodes of TV shows, but I do struggle
Like what?
to think. Like Family Guy, Bob's Burgers. Pretty sure
Oh.
there's a Friends episode.
Huh.
Actually, there's certainly several Friends.
Wait, actually, no, I think
episodes.
there's a South Park one from way early.
Probably
Where they do like
yeah.
school plays and they have to go like a turkey.
Yeah, but I
Like
do
Timmy finds a
struggle
turkey.
to find or to think of any Thanksgiving ones or Thanksgiving movies I've seen.
There's a King of the Hill Thanksgiving episode.
Oh yeah.
I remember that one pretty plainly. Because it's the spin the choice one. Are you familiar with this?
No,
I don't know how much
I've seen
King of the Hill.
I've not watched the full series, but I've seen episodes. Of
Yeah,
it.
there's a Thanksgiving episode that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Well, so Halloween 2 was a pretty interesting movie, huh?
Um,
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on it. I mean, this was my second time viewing it. It's
absolute
been a
joy.
while, but
well, like I was telling you before, I just watched another kind of like found footage documentary about like serial killing and things like that.
mm-hmm.
And the fucking tone and serial killerness in that film was so like realistic and kind of brutal and disturbing that like coming on over to Halloween 2 after having that like run in my mind for like a week is like it's like a fun romp.
So did you watch that for the festivities, or did you just stumble upon it?
I stumbled upon it on like YouTube and someone was like, "Is this the most disturbing found footage film ever made?" And I was
And
like,
so
"What, like
naturally you're like, huh?
Yeah, I was
guess
like,
I better find
yeah,
out.
right. I was like what, like the Blair Witch Project? And they're like, it's like a found footage film about like serial killer tapes. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. Like, how bad could that be? Like Zodiac or some shit. Little did I know, it is quite. Yeah, it sticks with you. It can do that. Yeah, but yeah. So watching that and then coming over to Halloween 2 was just an absolute joy because there's so much camp here.
There is, which yeah, like I do wonder if that camp was always something that was like noticeable.
Right.
You know?
I don't know if it was ever actually scary. That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
I
that's
want to know
kinda
if there
more
was
what I
ever
mean,
people
you know?
like leaving, seeing Halloween 2, just like, oh boy, is Michael Myers gonna get me? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because certainly the horror has changed a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
just like I think the threshold, the public threshold for things that are scary has changed a lot.
Well, yes. First off, yeah, I think I'll agree with that.
But yeah, because I mean, I feel like you show Halloween 2 to like businessman from the 1930s, and you'd probably keel over and die on the spot.
You think
know?
so? You think? Is that man moving at a shuffling rate like my pa did on his drinking nights? I don't know. My God, that is horrifying. There's a horror movie called, I'm pretty sure It Follows. I don't know
I
if you're
have
familiar.
heard of it. I've not seen it.
Is that
I
tell
know-
tell me if I sound on base with your understanding of this film, but it's like a sexually transmitted killer ghost.
That's more or less what I have like gathered from that.
Right, like it's like a ghost that shuffles at you more or less, and it stays at a consistent speed, and it follows you. If it ever catches you, you die, but it moves very slowly. So you can like go across the globe, and that'll buy you like I don't know, like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But like it's a ghost, so it'll never stop, right? Nothing can stop it from coming towards you ever slowly, but it is slowly coming towards you, and the only way to get rid of it is to have sex with someone, and then it'll follow them to their death.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
This is what I understand about the film.
I literally all that I've heard with it is that it's like again like a sexually transmitted disease horror movie.
Right.
But that's like it. That's all that I knew about it.
I'm pretty sure that's the plot. Basically, my point being, that's where a lot of the quote-unquote horror of Michael Myers seems to come from, where it's just like, he'll shuffle towards you, but I mean, he'll shuffle towards you. Like walls, doors, there is no stopping him from shuffling ever constantly towards you.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing, because I remember I first watched the original Halloween and Halloween 2.
Right.
I think about 3 years ago or so. And that was like right when the reboot sequel movie came out. Like,
sure.
So I have only seen those 3 movies. Like the first one, the one we just watched, and then the one where Jamie Lee Curtis came back, I guess.
Right.
And I did a little bit of research when I was like first getting into them, and I think that they kind of, as the movies went on, like got exceedingly more convoluted into like the lore of Michael Myers.
Right.
Because, you know, the first one, as we've kind of established, it's like pretty like somewhat grounded, I guess you could say. It's like,
I'll believe you.
a little boy kills his sister, gets admitted to a sanitarium, and then somehow breaks out of the sanitarium and starts killing people again, you know? And then movie ends, he gets shot and falls off a balcony.
How many times does he get shot, though?
6 times.
Are we sure about that?
You know, actually, funny enough that you say that. I don't know if you saw this when I was looking through the reviews. There was someone who mentioned that the scenes, the end of Halloween 1 and the beginning of Halloween 2, even though it rehashes like that scene,
right?
I think it was shot like differently. Like it wasn't like just straight up taken out of Halloween 1. Because somebody mentions that in the original movie he only shoots him like X amount of times, but then in this movie he shoots him like one more time or something.
6 times.
Anyway, unimportant. But yeah, so, you know, before somewhat grounded serial killer type dealio.
Right.
This one, you know, he's just a meat shield, you know. He'll travel the ends of the earth and nothing will stop him.
Yeah.
Except
and, you know, for fire.
Well, that's so then he explodes. But then there is a Halloween 3.
Right.
And several more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that like in another, like from what I read from a Wikipedia article like 3 years ago, so I could be wrong. But I feel like in one of the movies, they kind of try to retcon it where it was like, oh, Michael Myers' parents were, or no, the whole town, like something about like paganism, like they did some kind of pagan like ritual.
Sure.
And then it like made a demon like go into Michael Myers or some shit. Right. And so then like the demon like will never rest until he kills like all of his family or something like that.
Sure.
And so that's why whenever he dies, he doesn't die.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep. So that's not established firmly in this film yet. All we know is that for some reason bullets don't seem to stop him.
Yeah, not at all.
Although the, you know, psychiatrist fella does a lot of rambling about like something darker within him. That's when I started to realize behind his eyes there was something other, not human, something darker, straight from the pits of the underworld.
Yeah, do you want to get into the plot for this one?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so we're not gonna get into the plot of the first one here, but
frankly, I don't think there's like too much.
No, I mean honestly,
like
we more or less already have. Yeah,
through.
It's just okay. You know, yeah. Let me correct myself. We're gonna quickly go over the plot of the first one. Michael Myers kills his sister, goes to a sanitarium, then 15 years later breaks out of said sanitarium, kills a handful of teenagers. And then his doctor from the sanitarium shoots him about 6 times.
Right.
He falls out the window, and then the movie starts. The second movie, that is.
Right.
So the second movie picks up with a little rehash of that last scene.
Right.
So we see Laura, who is played by Jamie Lee Curtis.
Her name's not Lori?
You're right, it is Laurie.
Okay, I was about to be like, oh my God.
So Laurie, who's played by Jamie Lee Curtis and is like the main actress in both movies.
Right.
She is in the beginning of the second movie, and a rehash of the last scene of the first movie is instructing the kids that I think she was babysitting, and she's like, okay, now this man just tried to kill me, and you saw that, but he's incapacitated to some extent, so you're going to go down the street and scream bloody murder and tell the neighbors to call the police, okay? Listen to me, go, now. And they're like, okay, and so they do that, and as they do that, Michael Myers does the Undertaker rise up, and
he got it from Taker, 100%.
And then he attacks Laurie.
Yep.
And just in time, Dr. Loomis comes in and shoots him once.
With his trusty gun.
And then he stumbles back, and then he shoots him 5 more times.
Yeah, right.
And then he falls off the balcony. And then Laurie says, "Was that the boogeyman?" And Dr. Loomis says, "Why, yes, it was, actually."
Yeah, probably.
And then he goes to check on said boogeyman, but the body is gone.
What?
Woo!
Oh, my God. Spooky.
Yeah, and so then he then goes to check where the body was and
Right.
sees that there is blood.
Dun dun. I just want to mention when the psychiatrist comes out to the front lawn trying to find Michael Myers, and the neighbor comes out.
Forgot about that.
And it's just like, what's going on here? And I forget what Loomis says. Does he mention like, oh, I killed him, like I shot him?
Yeah, I think he said he's like, I shot him 6 times.
Yeah, he's like, I killed him. And then the neighbor's just like, is this some kind of like, what is this? Is this a joke? He's like, call the police. We need to find him. And he's like, I've been trick-or-treated to death. And he's just like, you don't know what death is. Oh, it's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant.
And then we see a nice POV of you are Michael Myers and you are walking.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah. And so you, as Michael Myers, then are walking through an alleyway, and you see a man in the distance as a cop car pulls up.
It's a good like 4 houses down that
Yeah.
he sees in this guy in the distance.
And a cop car pulls up, and as the police officer gets out, you hear Dr. Loomis go, "I shot him 6 times!"
Shot him 6 times.
And so then Michael Myers takes this as his cue to not go that way.
Right, yeah.
And is peering through the window as this old lady yells at her husband, who is asleep watching TV.
Yeah, she's making a sandwich and asking if he wants mustard.
And he ain't answering.
Yeah, he's unconscious.
And so then Michael Myers sneaks in and grabs a knife. And then the old lady turns around. Well, Michael Myers is gone. He does not have much interest in killing
Yeah, he
old
spares
ladies.
the elderly for now.
Ooh. So then he takes a little walk next door where he overhears the neighborhood teenage girl, or the neighbor.
There's only one,
Yeah.
really.
Rather, the teenage neighbor say, "Oh, man, there's that old lady yelling at her husband again. I
Right.
better call the police."
Right.
So she calls the police. Oh, no, she screamed. That's why the old lady screamed, because she saw, like, blood.
Right.
And
Yes, yes.
yeah, Michael Myers' bloody hand on
Grabbed
the
the
cutting
knife
board.
and left some blood.
And so then the Good Samaritan neighbor decides to call the police after hearing the scream, and says, "Oh, well, it was probably that old lady. She's always nagging at her husband, so she's probably getting beaten."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Because I guess she's like talking to a friend or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because she's just like, my father? No, out of town. And I think my mother probably went with him. I'm here, all alone in this house.
And innocent.
I hope no predatory types are within earshot. Otherwise, I may be in some trouble.
What's that you say? There were 3 teenage girls murdered ruthlessly right down the street from
Yeah.
here? But that's right down the street from
From
here.
here, I hear the police sirens go. I can almost... Oh my God, it's so close. And they haven't found him yet. Huh.
My door is slightly ajar.
Yeah.
Hello? Is someone in my home? Well, clearly not, because nobody answered me.
Right.
I better go close that door.
Yeah, that pesky door. And then what would you know but from camera left?
I would make a noise, but Michael Myers is more or less silent.
He makes
so.
a motion like he came out of a Jack in the Box. Yeah,
He certainly
like there was
does,
just like a
yeah.
conspicuous box. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't remember that box being there, but I'm just gonna walk towards my door now. And she's like, bleh. you
Yeah,
know?
and as we pointed out, there's like not really any place that you could reasonably
No.
like assume that he was hiding.
Squat down and jump out of.
Yeah, no, I certainly think, like we said, it's like he is like a Skyrim character, and he's just like
Just has lots of stealth.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just crouching down.
Just full crouch in the middle of the living room, and she just hasn't looked down into her right on the way out the door
And Michael Myers takes yet another soul.
with a knife.
And then at that point, I believe we have
Jamie's going to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. That's when we see the ambulance pull up, and
She's like, "Don't put me to sleep.
Laurie's trying to go to the hospital.
I don't want to go to sleep. Don't put me to sleep."
So she goes to the hospital, and meanwhile, Dr. Loomis is like, "We have to find Michael Myers. I shot him 6 times."
Right. And they're driving, and they see some dude with a mask walking down the street.
Oh,
Because
God.
he's in a Michael Myers mask, right?
This was like probably the highlight of the movie.
So he's like, "Wait, I think that might be him." And then he's like, "All right,
Stop the car.
there's some laughing children, and I see this masked fella. I need to both make these children feel safe and secure and go try to track down this fella. Let me make sure I'm wielding my gun very haphazardly as I jump out of this car and start screaming."
And so he starts doing like, hey, stop. And so then the masked fella kind of starts like hastily walking in the other direction.
Because there's a balding madman shouting at him, wielding a gun, yeah.
And so he crosses the street without looking both ways.
Yeah,
which
to be fair.
unfortunately was his mistake.
To be fair.
And right when you think that Dr. Loomis is going to take his kill shot,
Right.
he does not, because the police chief stops him. And thank God he did, because a car runs over that poor masked man.
Yeah.
And so not only does this masked man get hit by a car, but this car then drives... Actually, I'm pretty sure the car was also a police car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The car that hits him is a police car.
Yeah, a cab. And so this police officer not only hits this masked man, but also drives him into a like van that's nearby, causing all of the vehicles to explode in a fiery inferno.
Oh, beautiful. And I like that the footage was sped up like 1.5 times speed, so it's really fast how they just like nail this dude and he's like hanging on the hood and then just like bam, smashed in between two things. Oh my God. They separate the fucking torso from the bottom. It's like that type of shit. Christ above.
And the police chief pretty much right away is like,
you think we got him?
Well, only one way to find out. Take this man to the dentist.
It's like, well, we could have identified him a lot easier if the serendipity hadn't had it that this police car ran into him, sandwiched him between this other van here, and then exploded both vehicles. But sometimes that's just what you got to do to take down a perp as he walks slowly across the street.
And so then the police chief more or less says, well, our man is dead. My work here is done. And so then I believe we have Laurie, who is now being admitted to the hospital.
Yes.
And we see a doctor who is old.
Picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah.
And asks for some coffee.
Yeah, he asked for some coffee, and then he's like, all right, Laurie. And she's like, please don't put me to sleep. And he's like, oh, don't worry. And then he's like, nurse, put her to sleep.
He's like, oh, don't worry about it. We're just going to put you to sleep.
And so, yeah, they put her to sleep. And
there's a party, and some people are leaving that party. And they're like, that's the last time I go to a party at like Stevie Mac's house.
And then the one girl says to the other, all right, you're going to take me home, right? She's like, I don't know. I'm pretty busy. She's like, but you promised.
Right.
She's like, well, your house is 5 minutes that way, and then I have to go 5 minutes the other way. Come
to get
on.
back to the hospital, and I'll be late, and it's just, I don't know about it. And she's like, you told me you'd drive me home, so drive me home, please? And she's like, oh, okay. You're lucky I'm so nice.
And I can only assume she does because we don't see it.
And she is late for work.
Yeah. So as these teenagers then get into the car and drive off, we see who else? But Michael Myers
he's
walking
still
the
there.
streets of Haddonfield, Illinois.
They didn't get him with the cop car. It wasn't him.
Uh-oh. And so then I think the police chief hears word that there might be a death in the family.
Oh, my Christ. Oh, my God. Which family member, by chance?
It is not his wife, not his son,
Not his son.
but his daughter.
His daughter?
His daughter.
Oh, my God. Michael Myers killed his daughter.
Yeah, I don't know if it happened in the other movie or if that was the girl who I guess it had to be.
Got
in the
knife
other movie.
murdered earlier this very evening.
I don't think it was her because I think she was saying her dad was out of town.
Yeah, so it couldn't have been. But it looked like the same girl.
It did, yeah. I don't know. His daughter's dead, and nothing can be done about it.
Yeah, unless they catch Michael Myers.
So he more or less says, "Okay, I'm gonna go now. Can you go catch Michael Myers, please?"
Right. And the psychiatrist fellow is like, "Take me with you. We'll go find him."
Did that scare you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Whiskers just burst in the room.
She's the killer.
Then I guess flirting at the hospital happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then everybody's horny. Everybody's flirting.
Yeah, there's one really horny, creepy doctor fella who's always hitting on the nurse, and getting high and doing his thing.
And so Michael Myers, when we saw him on the street, was heading in the direction of the hospital.
Bum, 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 bum.
And so we see that there's a bunch of horny staff members at the hospital. And there's also a security guard who is not doing his job.
And it's not exceptionally horny.
Yeah. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not very horny, this one.
Yeah. But he is definitely not doing his job. And we see Michael Myers on the CCTV.
Yes.
But he doesn't.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess he doesn't, does he?
No, he certainly doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then more or less the police just look around town for Michael Myers to no avail.
Yeah.
Dr. Loomis is with them.
Yes. Basically, there's a staffer in the EMTs who's hitting on Jamie Lee Curtis, and she seems to be responding well to it, so I guess they're kind of like flirtatious and stuff, being involved with each other. There's one more hospital staff member, is like an older, creepier kind of fella, and he's, I guess, hitting on one of the nurses. And then there's the nurse who came from the party and is perpetually late, and she got reprimanded by her superior and is told to check on the babies. Yeah.
But who is watching over the babies?
Nobody. Fucking no one.
No, there's somebody watching over the babies.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
He's watching the babies.
And he's actually a pretty good caretaker because they, under his watch, they were okay.
Yeah, not a single one died.
Yeah. Which is contrary to what you might imagine, but he's great with kids.
Terrible teenagers.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know how to handle them.
Yeah, frankly, I don't know. I'm not good with teenagers either.
Yeah, I get him. On that note. He's a real relatable character, this Michael Myers fella.
Who hasn't wanted to kill a teenager?
Huh?
Who has not wanted to kill a teenager?
Can you say it louder for the microphone?
My name is Nathan Lamborn, and I wanted to kill a teenager.
Kill might be a strong word. Maybe when I was a teenager and I wanted to get really mad and angry at selective classmates for no fucking reason, then I guess it's been a while since I've wanted to kill a teenager.
Well, then you have a stronger will than I.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people I'd love to kill. No,
I'll list them right now.
Fortunately, a meme for the podcast. Most of them are government official. No, yeah. So, yeah, no. But I get what you're saying. I guess teenagers more frighten me than make me want to kill them.
Well, I want to kill what scares me.
Fair enough, yeah.
So, at some point, a lady who apparently works for the Illinois governor goes up to Dr. Loomis and is like, hey, you need to cut this out and go. Well, I guess first they go to the dentist place and they look at the charred body. And it's like, oh, well, from what I can tell from these teeth, this body belongs to a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
and then he goes, but Michael Myers is 21, even though it said he was 23 in the credits.
Yeah, well.
So this movie takes place over 2 years.
This is a long night.
Which, it kind of feels that way towards the end.
Right.
But anyway, then at that point or something, the government lady is like, hey, you need to go back to the sanitarium because this is going terribly.
Well, you just need to get out of the town.
I guess.
Because they don't want anybody related to the Myers case here in town while Michael Myers goes and kills people because they fear it's going to reflect badly on the sanitarium and the practices.
And he's like, okay. And so he gets in the car with the police officer and the government lady, and they start driving off.
Right.
And then meanwhile,
Michael Myers, at the hospital, one by one, starts killing people.
Yeah, first he
The
kills the
security
security man who was frightened by a cat in a dumpster, and then starts investigating like the storage room, notices like a screwdriver missing or something, opens up some other storage closets.
And
we
then
get a fake
does
out.
what I believe to be one of the very first instances of the now very well-known trope of opening a door and then closing the door, and the killer then being behind the door that was obstructing the view.
Yeah, exactly. So that happens, and then Michael Myers kills the dude
With the claw end of a hammer.
Yes, yeah, he sinks it into his skull. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then I guess he hangs him up.
Yeah, because we run into him later, so I don't really know what the fuck he does with him there.
But yeah, so he kills him.
Yeah, and one of the nurse ladies that the security guard handed like a portable radio to is trying to like get in contact with him. But like before the security guard left, after he handed her the fucking portable radio, she's like, I don't know how to work this thing. And then he just kind of looks at her like with a deadpan look and then just walks out the door.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right. And then he tries to tell her like, oh, sharp tool's missing. I think Michael Myers is here. Like, oh, call for the police. Call for the police. And
but all that comes through is
she's not getting any of it, and so she's just trying to get through to him, and eventually gets frustrated, gives up, slams the thing down, and walks back towards the main area. I don't really have a good idea of like the layout of this hospital.
Yeah, nor do I. But I believe next we have the horny older EMT guy.
Yep.
The nurse who is always late, and so she walks into a room to presumably check on a patient or something who is like shrouded by a blanket, and then arms grabbing her. Michael. Oh, never mind. It's just the horny dude, and he scared her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Hey, baby, you wanna have sex?" And she's like, "But I gotta check on these babies." He's like, "I got some babies you could check on."
Yeah.
And
yeah, pretty much.
And then she's like, "Well, we'll see." And then next scene immediately is them naked in the hospital hot tub.
Yeah, weird. I don't know what it is. I don't work in a hospital.
Either. Yeah,
I guess hospitals have hot tubs in residency, or at least like heated tubs for fucking something.
So then they're nude.
Yeah.
They're making out in this hot tub, and then we see a hand. Oh, I wonder who it could belong to.
Yeah, that's it.
And it creeps the thermostat for the water up to a less than comfortable, or a more than comfortable. No, less than comfortable. A hot temperature.
Yeah, I guess it just increases the rate of the water's heat rising or whatever, so it'll just keep on heating the tub up. And the lady's the only one that notices this and is like, this tub's too hot. And he's like, you want me to go check the temperature? Fine, I'll go check the temperature. So he goes up to check on it, and she's just kind of like dawdling, making sure she never like looks behind her towards the window. You know, just kind of woo while Michael Myers steps into frame, and we see
like the most comical, like, thing.
By far hilarious.
Because it's just like there's absolutely no like sound to it at all. You just see her, you know, more or less just like humming to herself, and then you just see like the brutal murder behind you.
Well, it's interesting because it seems like the actors were told to like mimic a struggle, but it doesn't look like a struggle that I've ever fucking seen. Yeah. Like the dude's like moving. It's almost more evocative of the idea that he wants to get away and struggle than like it actually looks like he's trying to get away or struggle. So they kind of just like, you know, slide back and forth as he garrots him with some fucking wire or something. And then he gets strangled to death that way, and then emerges from the door and starts touching up on the lady, and she's just like, "Oh, your hands,
suck on your finger."
Yeah, and she starts doing some of that stuff. Yeah, whatever, to each their own. If that's her like you know, like empty kind of playful like wrist kissing or whatever the fuck. That's what she wants to do. And so she does that to Michael Myers, all the while not realizing that it ain't her man at all. And then eventually she turns around and sees that it is, in fact, Michael Myers. And then he grabs her and starts submerging her face in now the boiling, scalding water.
As the temperature gauge says, scalding.
Scalding.
Ooh.
And it's so scalding that we start to see her like skin on her face melt off, kind of. It's not all that crazy graphic, but it is.
I'm sure for 1970.
I'm sure it was just absolutely terrifying for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see somebody's face skin melt off, kind of. At the end, it just kind of looked like a really severe sunburn.
Mm-hmm.
but I digress.
So then Laurie
Yeah.
is just having this weird unresponsive episode
Right.
in her bed. And so then Jimmy and the nurse are like, we should get help. So they try
Jimmy
to
being
get help.
the EMT that has a crush on her.
Yeah.
And they're kind of flirting.
And so they try to get help. And the nurse goes to find the old doctor that we saw earlier. And she's like, old doctor, Laurie is not well. And then she's like, why are you just sitting there motionless with your back turned to me in this chair? So then she turns the chair, and he is dead with a needle gouged or stuck out of his eye.
Right.
And then as she just reels in shock from this, Michael Myers appears from the shadows to also kill her with the needle.
Right. Does the same thing.
And she dies.
Yep. So Laurie runs around for a little bit and then goes to sleep in a different hospital room. Like, she just does that. Like, she just runs, gets some distance, falls asleep. Then Jimmy goes into the minor surgery room and sees a different doctor. Dead with like a blood drip like in her arm, but it's just dripping onto the floor. So I guess she's just been drained of blood steadily and is dead.
And so the floor is all coated in blood.
Yeah, Jimmy looks down and sees that he's standing in blood.
And it's like, huh. And then he runs.
Yeah, let me try to move
falls.
explosively. And then just fucking eats it.
And suffers a concussion.
Yeah, conks his head on the back of the fucking hard floor because he tried to sprint out of blood that he saw he was standing in or something. But he didn't like freak out. He seemed very calm and collected, and then just decided anyway. Anyway, it makes no sense.
And then I think we see.
In fact, it made such little sense. But this was the point in the movie where I just said audibly, "You fucking fool!" Like, I was just like, "What is this?" Oh my Christ!
And so then I think we see what is effectively the last nurse, and she like through some way or another is like, Michael Myers is in here / people are dying. I'm going to get out.
Right.
And so she then goes to the parking lot to go to her car. Oh no, Jimmy
did stop her. We
Before
skipped over
Jimmy
this
died.
Gore conked his head on the back of the concrete.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't die. Before Jimmy got his concussion, he and this nurse ran into each other, not knowing that Michael Myers was sitting like 10 feet from them.
In the room that
and
they were
like,
discussing
okay,
in front
here's
of.
the exact plan of what we're both going to do and where we're going to go. Okay, let's do that. And so then they do that. And so she goes to the parking lot to her car to try to leave, but finds that all the tires have been slashed.
What?
And funny enough, I wonder if there's a different edit of this movie, because when I first saw it, I remember I rented it from Amazon like 3 years ago.
Sure.
And I do feel like I saw some kind of thing of like either Michael Myers like taking things out of like the hoods of cars to make them inoperable,
Right.
or if there was some kind of just like thing of like, see, he did this,
Right.
which didn't happen, but all of the cars were not operable.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. That's curious.
Yeah, it is weird. We didn't get an establishing scene for why or him doing that.
But all the same, tires are slashed, cars won't start.
Right.
And so then she runs back inside.
Yeah.
And so as she runs back inside, Laurie is now going into the hallway and sees the nurse, and she's like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And then Michael Myers runs around the corner, or not runs, walks around the corner and stabs her with a scalpel and gets her so deep and with his immense strength that he lifts her off of the ground, and her shoes fall off.
Yeah.
And
her shoes do fall off, yeah.
and she dies.
Yeah.
And then the pursuit begins. And by pursuit, I mean Laurie limps, and Michael Myers walks. She walks. She runs into hanging dead security guard that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, he's hanging from a floodlight.
Michael Myers is hot on her trail. She climbs through a window, narrowly escaping the slowly moving Michael Myers.
Yeah.
She then continues to move slowly as he moves marginally less slowly.
Right.
And then she just barely gets in an elevator and escapes him
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah. And then so she's out of the hospital and she's home free. And so she decides to go and hide in a car in the parking lot.
And then we see Dr. Loomis in the car with the government lady, and government lady says, "Dr. Loomis, there's a file that you never saw, and the meaning of that file is that Laurie Stroud is actually Michael Myers' sister.
What?
He had another sister aside from the one he killed, and it was Laurie Stroud, and she was adopted, but the parents had it hidden for her safety." And then Dr. Loomis says, "Do you know what that means?" And then he pulls a gun on the police officer and says, "Turn around." And after firing a warning shot, he does a sick 180 and they go to the hospital.
Man, the police must have been real fucking understanding back in the day. Because there's a part where like kids are like throwing rocks at the Myers like house, like because like they hear like Michael Myers is on the loose, and there's a cop who's like, "Stop sabotaging the house." So all the kids start throwing rocks at him, and he's just like, "Oh, you crazy kids," you know? Oh Christ!
At what point does Jimmy come outside?
At this point.
Alrighty. So Jimmy then comes outside and it does a very tasteful like fake out that Michael Myers is going to get in the car, but it's Jimmy.
Oh,
the
wow.
day is saved. And he's like, "Don't you worry, I'm going to get us out of here." And the car won't start. And then it becomes very apparent that he clearly has brain damage.
Right.
And passes out face first on the horn.
Of the car.
Pushing the horn.
Yeah, which is not great for your hiding spot.
Yeah, and so I guess then this is about the time where the police car with Dr. Loomis, the government lady, and the police officer pulls up.
Right.
And the three of them then go into the hospital while Laurie climbs out of the car and like crawls on the ground and can barely get out the words, "Help, help." And of course, right when they close the door to the hospital, she goes, "Help!"
Yeah, full fucking volume. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
They should not have made her shout it like that.
No, it was stupid.
It's a dumb thing.
And it was just shortly after that Michael Myers appears from the darkness of the parking lot.
Right.
And so she runs.
Yeah.
She goes to the door.
Yep.
Sorry.
And it's pounding and pounding and pounding and help me and help me and help me. And the cop that went in with Dr. Loomis and the government lady, is just like, "Is there a pounder at the door?" So like he goes up to the door and unlocks it and lets her in, and then they lock it before Michael Myers can get in.
And so they do that, and it is a shame though because glass doors are no match for the power of Michael Myers'
At
walking.
a steady pace.
And so he just bursts through them.
Yeah, he just walks right through, quite literally.
Without stumbling at
The
all.
glass shatters before him.
And then Dr. Loomis fires about 5 shots or so
Yep.
into Michael Myers.
Or so. He fires 5 shots into him.
He fires 5 shots into him.
But who's counting? Who knows? I don't know. He has 5 bullets left. Did he shoot them all into him?
Yeah, and so then he says,
I shot him
Yeah, I guess
11
he did.
times.
and so then the police officer then kind of examines Michael Myers' body, and he's like, "Stay away from there. He's not dead." And he's like, "Huh?
Yeah.
He's not breathing."
Right.
And then he's like, "All right, government lady, go outside and call on the radio to
Right.
people."
For the
And
sheriff people.
So then she does that, and while nobody is really paying attention, the police officer then bends
Gone.
over Michael Myers and is like, "What are you talking about? He's dead."
Yeah, he's totally fine.
And then Michael Myers slits his throat.
Yep, that's what happens when you lean over a supposedly dead body after a crazy psychiatrist fella says, "Don't do that, he's not dead."
So then crazy psychiatrist fella and Laurie then just run into the major surgery room.
Yes, no more minor surgery for them.
Yeah, and so Dr. Loomis hands Laurie a second gun that I guess he had.
Yeah.
That did have bullets. And so then they try to hold off Michael Myers from coming into the major surgery room, but Alas, doors are no match for Michael Myers.
Yep.
As he breaks through it.
He walks through that too.
Dr. Loomis tries to shoot him, but again, alas, he has used all his bullets.
Well, yeah, so like nothing happens. 'Cause
Yeah.
he tries to shoot him, but it's just like click, click, click.
And then he gets stabbed.
In like the liver or something.
Yeah, and he's not feeling good.
Right.
And so then Laurie then starts making, Michael Myers starts making his way over to Laurie, who's just kind of cowering in the corner. And she goes, Michael. And then he kind of like lowers his scalpel that he was going to kill her with and like kind of tilts his head.
Sister?
And then just starts heading right back to it.
Time to kill you then.
And so then he gets close enough. She fires 2 shots that are not warning shots as they shoot him in the eye.
Yeah, they're warning shots in the sense that like those blinded you. Next, I'll kill you.
And so his eyes start bleeding. He is now blinded, and he starts wildly swinging about. And then Dr. Loomis and Laurie start having gas fill the room via oxygen and ether.
Start turning
thingies.
knobs and making noise to attract him back and forth.
And then Laurie runs out of the room, and Dr. Loomis takes out his handy-dandy lighter and lights the room ablaze.
Yep.
And it explodes.
And then boom, explosion. Michael Myers walks out engulfed in flames and takes like 2, 3, 4, 5 steps and drops, and he's done.
Bum 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 bum. And then
I was just about to say
Mr.
Enter Sandman starts playing, but that's definitely not the name of that one.
Yeah, and
Mr.
then
Sandman.
Mr. Sandman, which the movie opened up on.
Yes.
Then closes out the movie.
While Laurie goes into another ambulance to take her to a different hospital, where hopefully tonight Michael Myers won't come murder everybody.
Finn. Yeah, it's yeah. What are your thoughts, Mike?
There's not too much to say about it, but seriously, it's one of those things that like you have to watch, and it doesn't feel like you don't. It's not grueling. It's perfectly entertaining. Like I enjoyed every minute of it, you know. But there was no pacing issues, I guess. Like it felt just moving on pace, you know, all good stuff. There was never a moment I was like checking my watch, like when's this movie over? Like oh my god. So I really enjoyed it in that regard.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like it's a very it is a very fun movie to watch. It's not something that really drags on. It's one of those movies. I'm trying to think what else we watched recently that I felt kind of similarly. Where when it came to recapping, it was like, I guess there's not really a lot to say, but it didn't feel like that. It was
Right.
maybe it was the card counter.
I mean, that's one of them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the type of thing. It's like when it comes to like just explaining what happened, it's very bare bones. Like,
Right.
they did this,
Right.
they did this.
You've seen a horror movie? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that being said, they did those things in an entertaining manner, and
Right.
it's not a boring watch for sure.
It's just very campy, so it's a lot of fun. Like if you have like horror movies that you enjoy, like what to say? It's one of those things that's so predictable. If you've ever seen like a horror movie, that you can just like get on board and just like get on the ride and just know it. Like you already know this movie if you've ever seen it, so you could just watch it and be like, oh, then this happens, and then it happens. You could just laugh with joy. It's great. Yeah. Seriously though, like I really don't care about Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Oh
Yeah.
God, I don't care. Like seriously, like I'm not gonna lie, like definitely no investment in her character. Dr. Loomis definitely starred his fucking movie. Like that guy,
That's true.
that
Yeah.
guy gave the best performance out of anybody. I don't care about Jimmy. I don't care about Laurie. I don't care about like Michael Myers that much, even
Yeah.
frankly.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like I almost wanted to say, well, that's the problem, but I mean, I guess it's not necessarily the problem because it's a sequel. But I guess a lot of that like character attachment like
Right.
is supposed to carry over directly from that first movie.
Maybe. Even still, I wouldn't say it's a problem because I wasn't like bored when Laurie was on screen. Like it's all fine. It's perfectly
No, but you're not particularly
acceptable.
attached to her.
No, I just really don't care about her character.
Yeah. A thought I had recently was, man, it must really suck to like get killed off in like a slasher horror movie, because that way you know for sure that when they make sequels, you're not getting cast. in it.
All right. Well, it depends how well they can retcon.
That's fair.
You know, like I survived. I think the movie that introduced me to that concept was one called I think it's like an Agatha Christie thing, and then there were none, right?
I've heard of that. Yeah.
basically it's a bunch of people at a mansion, and then they start picking them off one by one. But like the 6th dude out of 10 that's killed winds up being the killer, and he faked his death, and you know him and like the 3rd remaining person work as a team together to convince everybody that he died, but he didn't actually die, and he's still killing everybody off. So when you start thinking like, who's the killer? It's like, well, we know this guy just died, but he didn't actually die, and he's still the killer. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. So I think there's always that option in slasher films, where it's just like, Tom, no, you just saw him fall off the cliff onto those spikes. You didn't see how he got off those spikes, though.
It's like Escape Room 2.
Yes, actually, yes. Yeah, it is. No, yes. Yeah, you see my point made. No, you're totally right. Yes, just like that.
You got really excited about that.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, like, case in point. Yeah?
Oh, man.
But yeah, so, you know, who knows? You never know.
Were there any... okay, well, I think we've answered the question of that Dr. Loomis was 100%
treasure.
like highlight.
I shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times.
Yeah, he really
love
just
that
like
guy.
anytime he had the chance, he was like, I shot him 6 times.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's a whole scene where like they discover the name of some like Celtic death lord written on the wall. He's just like, that is the great lord of death, the end of summer. And I'm just like, I fucking love this guy. He's just like, in many ways, he was the ideal patient. He didn't move. He didn't talk. The nurses loved him. But it was for many years, for 15 years, he just laid there. And then like the sheriff is like, but you saw something in him, like you knew what he was. He's just like, I knew what he was. He's just like, I saw behind those eyes something darker. You know, I fucking love it. Oh my god, that man's the greatest. You know, he's just going off the whole fucking film where he's just like, Satan himself encapsulated his soul within that boy. And I saw it behind those soulless dead eyes. I remember the first time I tried to throw a ball with him. He didn't try to catch it at all. My sphincter tightened with the fear of God. The fear of God placed within me. It was then I knew that I must kill this boy at all costs. Yeah, it's great. It's fucking great. He's the best. He's the fucking best.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Him and like Creepy Doctor, because Creepy Doctor did a really good job of making you want to see him die immediately and violently. And it sucks that he got killed like in the background behind like kind of like
he seems like
glass.
Somebody who you'd want to like really like bask in. Like, yeah, this guy.
He should have gotten the face melting.
I agree.
You know. But then I don't think that, I think like maybe they just thought like, oh, you know what would be really crazy if we see a really pretty lady's face get melted, then like the tragedy will be twofold, you know?
Yeah. Were there any scenes that like particularly stood out to you?
What's crazy is like the beginning one, yeah.
The
like,
one from the previous movie?
No, well, yes and no. Like that into him coming out in the front lawn and like getting into the cop car and just be like, I shot him 6 times.
That was great.
Oh my god, seriously, stood out bar none. I mean, of course, the car hitting the kid, because they do mention like, oh, by the way, that the person who got hit by the car turns out to be the friend of 2 like 17-year-old kids who are just like, our friend got really drunk when he was trying to leave the party, and officer, we just want to make sure he got home safely. And the officer's like, don't you worry about it, I'm sure he's just doing fine. They're like, yeah, he left, he was staggering, he was wearing this mask, he was really drunk. And they're like, oh god. And they're like, yeah, he's 17 like us kids here. And they're just like, oh no. But they don't say that or show that or sell that at all. They're just like, all right, kids, run along home. And then they look at each other and they're just like, and they like loosen their ties. They're like, oh, we murdered a 17-year-old. Oh my Christ.
Yeah,
so
they like don't take accountability for that.
They don't bring it up. They don't even like. No, they don't care. They're just like, damn you, Michael Myers. Like, oh, all the same. They don't even do that. They don't even show like a sense of like burden on their soul over it.
And they're
just like looking at these teeth. This isn't Michael Myers.
That happened to them,
and they might as well just like snap and be like, damn. Well, let's go try to find Michael Myers then. And then just like shut the lights off on the charred body. You know, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. So those 2 scenes definitely stood out a bit.
I really liked when he picked up the lady with the scalpel in her shoes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty good to see like the kind of like flailing thing. That was nice. Yeah, definitely good there. I liked the explosion, of course, at the end. I feel like I probably already brought that up, but that at the end is, of course, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely would hesitate to call like any of this movie scary.
Nah.
But that being said, I do think there were many moments where they built suspense really well.
You'll have to pitch some to me.
Well, I just mean like when the security guard, like when he was like searching around and stuff, like before the cat happened and
Right.
stuff, like him like rooting around in the dark alley, like you don't know where Michael Myers is. Like again, it's not like I would not by any means say it's scary,
Right.
but you're definitely like, ooh, like I don't know when this is gonna happen.
Right.
Ooh, like when is it gonna happen?
Yeah. And I guess horror movies were kind of fresh enough that it wasn't like just like eye-rollingly bad to have those types of things. You're just like, oh my god.
With that, I'm ready to get into reviews when you are.
Sure, let's do it.
And so, as I pointed out to Mike when I found this one, because I was so excited, this is actually a repeat reviewer.
Right.
This is, I can't quite remember which episode it was, but I know for a fact I have read a review from this person. This is a 5-star review from Rohit Bhattacharya 007, and it reads, "Creepy movie, but I liked this. I have 2 questions. 1, how Michael always stays alive after having so many bullets.
I feel like the psychiatrist explained this pretty well.
And 2, did he really died by burning in fire? I really thinks what happened to Lauren's brother." That's a question.
Okay.
Where he was all the time. I like that they make this 2 movies based on a single night. I really enjoyed that thing. Bit didn't enjoyed that Dr. Samuel died in the end.
Right. Well, of course.
Nobody found this helpful.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, look, I'm with you, 007. Yeah, the idea, poor psychologist fella died.
Yeah, he was definitely the highlight. you
Yeah,
know?
if we watch Halloween 3, like his absence will be sorely fucking missed. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But we're gonna go watch the new one, I assume. So.
Oh, I absolutely want to. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So all in all, yeah, I agree with.
You know what's kind of funny?
Huh?
So I have seen like I said, the one that had Jamie Lee Curtis return, which is the one that like is the one that predates the one that's about to come out.
Okay.
And I imagine that we probably won't watch that one before we watch this
Probably
new
not.
one.
No.
But it's funny because ironically, the way that one ends is Michael Myers supposedly dying in a fire.
Right.
So.
And it seems like that's how this one begins.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So we're more or less kind of picking up right where we left off.
Right. Yeah, it's fair. All right, so I had one that I'm going to read. I'm still going to read it, but real quick, this one's real short, and I like it as well, because for this reason. It says it's very good. My whole family likes it. My whole family likes it, and so do I. The reason I put the emphasis on whole like that is because it's not whole like WHOLE, like it's HOLE.
My whole family.
It's very good. My whole family likes it, and so do I. Anyway, this one's also very short, but I think it has lessons for us all, just even outside of the film.
Uh-huh.
This is, in my opinion... Oh, sorry. This is Nicholas Firmenich.
Okay.
This is, in my opinion, one of the best Halloween movies out of the franchise. Don't dislike anyone for their opinion. That's all he has to say about that.
Yeah, no, we certainly could all, we could take...
Yeah.
Listening back to our episode of old, I think I could take that advice.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Don't dislike anyone for their opinion. Thank you, Nicholas.
So this is from Naveen Joshi, and they say, I expected this movie to be much better, but it turned out to be really poor. It's basically a continuation of the Halloween 1978 and should be watched together. Even John Carpenter revealed that he hated this movie. The one setting of the hospital made it really boring for me.
That is fair. When they went back into the hospital for the climax, Diego made a point that I think was fair. It's just like, I'm kind of tired of the hospital at this point. It's like, yeah, so much of it takes place in the hospital. And like the depth of the hospital isn't really explored in any meaningful sense, so it really does get kind of boring at the very end.
Yeah, I do think that it could have been served well to have more settings, or at least, like you said, just like explore that one a little bit more.
I'm curious that the statement that John Carpenter revealed that he hated this movie. Like, did he really say like he hates Halloween too?
Because even if that's the case, like, he wrote it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not like, as far as I know, it's not like one of those ones where it's like, oh, well, I wrote the first one and then the studio made a second one. Like, he wrote it.
Right, exactly. So I don't know. Anyway, here's Axe Chat with more on that kind of tone. Halloween 2 was a disappointment. The story and suspense which made the first masterpiece was missing in this part. The setting, bad idea. A hospital which is almost empty. The suspense of this movie was not even scary. At one time, I was thinking, why the producers greenlit this type of senseless story? Overall, you may enjoy it a little bit, but at the end, it will be a disappointment. And I disagree with you immensely. I had a whole bunch of fun, frankly. It's just a good old grand old time watching this. You know, is it a masterwork? No. Is it fair that the hospital gets a bit one-dimensional at the end? Sure. You know, you get tired of the hospital because that's where most of it takes place. So fair. But, you know, I enjoyed it a lot.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, with that, would you like to do some reviews?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alrighty. Or not reviews, ratings, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, that's an enjoyable movie. Do I think it's the best Halloween movie out there? No, but
Probably
you know, I think Halloween movies in general, they kind of just, there's a certain itch they scratch, and this one does that. And for that, it gets a out of.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, I've brought this up a couple times, and I'll just bring it up one more time because, you know, it really is. I can't tell you how much, like, this kind of plays into, like, how this movie fits into my overall narrative. And that is, like, less than a week ago, I watched another movie in, like, a found footage style about a killer. And that movie really, like, kind of set a tone for, like, serial killers and craziness that was just very... you know, it did a really good job of wiggling its way in your brain and feeling like around every corner could be a killer or like the killer just waiting to do some horrific, terrible fucking shit to you. And so that really kind of has been like, you know, doing rounds in my head as I try to go to sleep. And so coming off of that, having that kind of like rattle around in my brain for the past like week, to be like, you want to watch Halloween 2? And then watching Halloween 2, which is a take from the 70s on like, ooh, spooky serial killer running around killing people. Oh, sweet Christ. It's just, it was, in many ways, it was a very nice relief. I don't think it's going to make me any easier to go to sleep, because my brain just seems to think that serial killer patrol is a sensible regulation need at this current time. Because, you know, for some reason, that's where we're at right now. And so it's going to keep doing that. But this movie really is like the Godzilla doing hero poses of, like, serial killers to me. Because it wasn't scary. It was just a big fucking joy to see this kind of take on, like, super scary stalker killer people. Like, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And so with that, just to lighten the tone of serial killing, I'm very appreciative to that. And so with that, I'm going to give it a out of for just easing my mind a little bit and being a nice little break from how fucking concerning the idea of serial killers constantly watching me can be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that analogy of it being the Godzilla hero poses of serial killer movies.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
Because, you know, I'm not really afraid that, like, Michael Myers is going to be in my fucking, like, backyard tonight, like, that type of thing. And frankly, if Michael Myers, like, type stuff was the thing that was happening here, fine. Fine. That's way preferable to the serial killer nonsense that, like, has been, like, fucking doing its rounds in my brain, so, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing that's interesting. The more and more that I watch these like horror movies from the 70s, like, yeah, it's very rare that I actually am kind of like creeped out, like actually.
Yeah. It doesn't
them.
stick with you after you watch it.
And again, I think a big part of that, I think it has to be just like product of the times.
Oh yeah. Like what their effects could meaningfully achieve. Yeah, things like that.
I mean, also,
and like
again,
I guess
it's
like
just
shooting
like, you know,
conventions.
We've lived through like the ante has been upped, you know.
Right.
So it's like this is kind of like child's play to us, where it's like when this was not like so much a part of like the forefront of popular media.
Right.
I could see it like the first time you have seen anything that could even be considered like something that's spooky.
Right.
I could see that being pretty shocking.
Yeah, really haunting people. But you know,
but we're hardened media enjoyers. So.
Evidently, fucking not, dude. Seriously, man. Like I'm checking for feet under my door, and I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and I can't get back to sleep. It's so weird how horror can do that to you.
Yeah, I've had the occasional dream that, you know, like it's so spooky that you wake up and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get back to sleep after that.
Dude, I have stuff like that all the time, which is why I'm also pissed off at this horror movie. Because, like, I already have a high rate of being, like, hunted in my dreams and or having, like, types of experiential dreams where, like, I'll wake up and see, like, night terrors and shit like that. Like, I'm already prone to that, so I don't need subconsciously in my mind to have like some serial killer nonsense also running around, because I already know it's going to affect the rate of fucking horror show dreams I have, and I'm not looking forward to that. And not trying to think about it actively makes me think about it more. And I'm also sleep deprived. Yeah, man. It's so weird how suddenly like you watch a fictional piece of like work, and suddenly your brain thinks that a sensible regulation thing is to just like keep looking for serial killers and be convinced. Like it really throws me for a loop, like how weird the brain can be like that. Because like 2 weeks ago, I was falling asleep just fine, not worrying about walking out in the dark, going to the bathroom, and then you watch like one movie that makes your brain think a salient point is, oh yeah, maybe today's the day that there's some fucking weirdo just chilling in your house waiting for weird amounts of time specifically for you just to come murder you in a really gruesome, brutal way. Or like abduct you and take you to some place to torture you in some really gruesome, brutal way in private for a longer period of time. And it's just like, dude, I wasn't thinking about that at all. And it's almost like if someone came up to me and was like, you know, you should start thinking that there's like crazy like serial killer people just always coming out to get you and watching you all the time and just waiting for the moment to murder you. I'd be like, that's a weird thing to suggest and that's silly. And then it wouldn't happen. But for some reason, I watched some dude put together like a piece of fucking fiction film. And all of a sudden, my brain's like, oh yeah, buddy, you should be thinking about this all the time now. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know how many like weeks I have to get away from the viewing of this film before like my brain starts to be like, oh, we haven't like thought about this for a while or haven't been exposed to any like big stimulants about it, so we'll start waning on that now. And I'm just like, can I speed that process up, you know, because evidently I think it's a downhill slope where eventually my brain's gonna forget to think about serial killers constantly stalking me. And it's like, right, because that's a nonsensical thing. Like, I just can't be on serial killer alert for the rest of my fucking life in any sensible or meaningful way. So it's just like, I don't know why my brain won't just like cut it now, because I can acknowledge that I can't keep this up forever. And if the serial killer's at my home and he's going to do it, like I'm just fucked. Like he's going to do it, right? So it's just like, I don't know what I have to do to tell my brain like there's nothing you can do overworking yourself with worry and refusing to go to sleep that's going to save your life anymore. I don't know.
Happy Halloween. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, if I can tell you about it.
What the hell was that?